Ooh, okay, date stories.
Yeah, date stories.
Good choice. Okay. So this is working. I'm going to go ahead and just do it while I tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the stories of, oh gosh, I've got a lot of funny and awkward date stories. I wonder where I should start. Okay, I'll start with Plenty of Fish. I tried Plenty of Fish because I was very broke, and that was the only free app at the time, and that I knew of. I mean, I wasn't like shopping that hard for it, but so I tried Plenty of Fish, and several things happened that were like really kind of creepy to me. First, one of my friends kind of outed themselves as a racist. Because when I first got the profile, I told one of my friends who was also single, and she was like, ooh, can I help you make your profile? And I was like, sure, of course. So we were sitting and like looking at the screen and doing the profile thing, and it has you check like what you're willing to date and what you're not willing to date, like and if you have preferences, and so it'll be like, you know, only show me Methodists, or only show me you know, Buddhists, or only, you know, I don't care, or only show me atheists because I don't like people with religions, or whatever. Or it'll be like, you know, I think it might have politics on there, things like that. And so we're going through, like, checking all the boxes, kind of like building our ideal set of circumstances. And I was mostly going for elimination, so it's really I was only turning off the boxes of definite deal breakers, so that I just wouldn't have to waste my time as much, because I would only have to screen out the lying ones. Like, so like I like had a rule, because I had a previous boyfriend who had been a smoker. I had a rule, absolutely no smokers. And I don't want you to get me wrong, I don't actually have a problem with people smoking, like, as a moral issue at all. I have friends who smoke, and I even support them in doing that in some cases, especially, for example, people who are former people with addictions of some sort. I know that there is a purpose that nicotine serves for people like that sometimes. But I personally really had a lot of associations and reasons from that previous relationship for why I wouldn't date a smoker. So, like, that's the kind of preferences that we were kind of going through. And it came down to, you know, are there any races that you prefer, or any races you absolutely won't date? And I think it also had, like, cultures or something like that. I don't remember. Like, you can go on Plenty of Fish if you're really curious. But it's been a long time. It's been like 9 years. Almost more than 9 years. Anyway, so my friend is sitting there with me helping me do this Plenty of Fish profile, and she, like, I'm about to, like, and I, like, change the page, I go to, like, next, and she's like, hang on, she's like, you can go back, she was like, I'm not gonna judge you, and she, like, unclicks black, and, like, I think she actually did deselect all, and then selected white only, and I was like, that's not my preference. Like, and she seriously, like, seemed to think that I had a genuine preference for, like it just didn't even, like, faze her. She didn't ask, she just did it. And I was like, where did you get the impression that I have a problem with, like, dating other races, like, at all? And so, you know, I didn't, like, at the time, I didn't fully unfriend her or anything, but I definitely, like, became very, very busy. I'm pretty low drama. I didn't feel like making a drama about it, but I totally went back and, like, unchecked it and, like, fixed it and, like, made it so that it wasn't being so picky, because that wasn't really a problem for me. And good thing, too, because I think, like, 95% of the people that I matched with were, in fact, not white. And a lot of them were very nice, but I never got to, like, meet them. Most of the time, the issue was age. Whoops. I thought I had put age parameters, which makes me think they were really asking about preferences, but they weren't completely screening everybody out. Because I know that I put age preferences, and I kept getting given, like, because I was, like, 24 or 25 at the time. I was about 24 when I made the profile. And so they kept giving me like 40-year-old men and like 39-year-old men and stuff like that. And like, again, no hate, but I had dated a guy who was 8 years older than me, and I had a bad experience, and I had no interest in that much of an age gap. I think we did that like you know, there's like a formula you can do for sort of like most appropriate age, and it's like, I think to figure out the youngest you can date, you take your own age plus 7 divided by 2. And that's like the lowest you should go. And then I think you can figure out from your own age, you would double it and then subtract 7. Something like that. So like, if that's the case, then you would do 24, so it'd be 48 minus, so I'd be like up to 41, which no. Sorry, when I was 24, I was not about to date a 41-year-old. Just, you know, not my personal preference. So most of the people that I got suggested on Plenty of Fish, like I would chat with them for a little bit, and then as soon as I found out their ages, I was kind of like, I'm sorry, I'm really not into that right now. Some of them, it just kind of was fun to chat, but they never really met up in person. And then I finally met some people in person. Or like, there were some other deal breakers, like, in terms of just my ethics, where I would chat with them for a while, and before we got to meet up in person, it was just sort of a non-connection. Because I wasn't about to waste a bunch of time meeting someone until I'd talked to them for quite a bit anyway. So I ended up meeting up with 2 different guys from Plenty of Fish before I gave up on the whole app. The first one, and I look back and I just cringe. Oh, I cringe so much. I was naive, and I was trying really hard to be open-minded, because I had a lot of guy friends who were kind of nerdy or whatever, who complained that all they ever got was rejected, so they just didn't even bother asking girls out anymore. And I felt like I wanted to represent women as fair, and that I would give guys a chance as often as I could, even if they seemed a little dorky or awkward, because I'm pretty awkward and a little dorky, and I feel like that's fair. So the first guy, though, like, looking back, like, his third photo was him very proudly sporting a fedora on a beach, like, in a full, like, button-up shirt, not, like, you know, at the beach for swimming. And there's nothing wrong with, like, walking on the beach. Like, if it's fall or something, you might not be in swimwear. But the fedora should have tipped me off. Meanwhile, my profile had, you know, I tried to be as honest as possible, because I would way rather undersell and overdeliver and not have somebody show up and be like, whoa, I didn't know you were slightly overweight or whatever. So I was smaller then than I am now. And so I tried to be very clear about anything that might be a turnoff to someone in my profile. And one of the things was that I had bright blue bangs at the time. And like kind of streaks, but mostly just right in the front, bright blue hair. And it was like cobalt blue, but that's pretty darn bright of a color. I met with this guy, and he was like, first thing, we meet in the parking lot. I had we were meeting like in like a very public Starbucks, but there's like a parking garage right next to the Starbucks where you park, and we both were communicating via text message sort of like as we arrived, and we had both just parked, so we ended up meeting in the parking lot. And the first thing he said was like, whoa, you weren't kidding about the blue hair. And I was like, all of my pictures I have blue hair. I said in the thing I have blue hair. If you have a problem with blue hair, you probably shouldn't have met me, you know? So I was like, not the best first impression. Second, just the most like fedora neckbeard specifically vibes. Now he seemed more hygienic than the stereotypical neckbeard. I have a lot of neckbeard friends that are not like the stereotypes, so I want to make sure that I'm clear. Like, there were just certain stereotypical things about him that I was like, come on, dude, why are you being such a caricature? But then he reached out his hand to shake my hand. Let me see if I can do it. So I go like this, and he goes He was like, nice to meet you. And I was like, nice to meet you. So I'm already like, nope, like, but I'm too nice. I was way too nice then. And so I stuck around for coffee just to give the guy a chance to practice, I guess, because I was like, you already lost me, dude. I've never had my hand shook that way. It was so creepy. It was, first of all, very clammy and very wet and very weak. But I hold out my hand like a normal person. Obviously, it was my right hand because I'm right-handed, and that's like what people do. But like, I hold out my hand like a regular handshake, and then he goes, like, kind of weak, and also from the top, and just kind of like grabs like the fat of my thumb like this, but just like, nice to meet you. And I was just like, who taught you that? Like, that has to be a choice, doesn't it? Like, to be in your 20s, like late 20s, like shaking hand. How does one get past about age 15 without somebody being like, bruh, no, that's just not, that's not a handshake. That's a, whatever, what's the opposite of a beacon? Like, that's a warning signal is what that is. So, anyway, so we go to the Starbucks, and he attempts to order a drink for me, like, without asking me what I want, which was, like, strike number 10 at that point, but, like, especially because I had been a barista, and I was like, bro, you don't know what I like. Like, if you think you're going to show off something, like, that's not really, I know how to order. But anyway, so we go to sit down, and I'm, like, texting my friends, like, hey, this isn't, like, dangerous, but it's super awkward, so feel free to call me very soon and get me out of here. And, because I had a friend who lived down the street that I was like, hey, you know, if you want to be shopping in that area while I'm on this date so that if it gets bad or weird, you can be, like, pretty close. So I was, like, texting that person, but trying to be not too rude about it. And the guy starts talking about how he, like, first he starts talking about his ex-wife. And again, I'm 24, judge me if you will, but at the time I had not specified, I had only specified, because the options are, like, single, separated, divorced, polyamorous, open relationship kind of stuff. And I had filtered for no divorcees, filtered for nobody married, and so, and then, like, I would check their profiles, because again, I think that they didn't necessarily completely just, like, follow your filter, they just sort of, I don't know exactly how it worked, I think you just saw less of those things, and that guy had put single, not divorced, there's a difference, and they were both options, and, so he starts talking about his ex-wife, and why they got divorced, which, like, again, what is, like, the first faux pas of a first date? Don't talk about your exes, especially don't, like, talk bad about your exes. Then he goes, oh, now I have these roommates, and we've been fighting a lot because, they just really don't like me because I take 3 baths a day, and they just think it's excessive, and I was like, what? Because at this point, it's just like an interesting social experiment. Like, I'm a people watcher, so I'm kind of like, what's he going to say next? Like, I'm definitely not going on a second date, but, like, this is going to be great fodder for a story someday. And here we are. And so I was like, what? And he was like, oh, yeah. He was like, I don't believe in showers, but I love to take baths, so I'll take 3 baths a day, and, like, for, like, an hour or more. And my roommates really don't like it. And I'm like, I bet they don't. I was like, how many bathrooms are y'all sharing? Like, is this, like, your own bathtub at least? But I was like, wow, I did not know that I had, like a criteria romantically about a man's bathing habits, other than that he has some. Like, you'd think that being overly hygienic would have been a plus, and yet I found myself going, okay, so I do have preferences, and they are that somebody not bathe more than once a day. Much less brag about it within the first 15 minutes of a first date with a stranger. So, yeah. So that was, I hightailed it out of there as quickly as I could. And he did not get the hint and totally, like, asked me, like, texted me later and was like, so, would you like to go for a second date? I was like, no. No, I do not want to go for a second date. So, that was that one. The second one